Hello, and welcome to Pieces of S.H.E podcast. Yay, we are back. Woohoo!
Going on.
I am your host, Trish, and as you can see, this is not Cousin Mo. However, it is a familiar face to Pieces of S.H.E family. She was my co-host last season, and she's also my sister. So, co-host Miss Gianna, how are you?
Hi, and I have my own episode.
Yay!
Hey, too. You know what I'm saying? So Pieces of S.H.E near and dear to the heart. Stay up in this thing. Got to love it. Got to love it. Got to support. I'm good. Chilling. How are you?
Thank you so much for being here. I know you are busy, of course, with your own show, Sip and Smoke, which I love. I love tuning in. I learn new things. You know, you guys are a pretty interesting bunch. I love it. I love it. I love it. If you guys ever want to talk sex and relationships, boom. She's your girl. But Cousin Mo had an emergency that came up last minute, and she couldn't make it. And then lo and behold, Gianna was like, you know what? I got time today. I got you. So here we are, and welcome and thank you again.
For sure. Anytime.
So today, you guys know, season 7, we're talking religion. We are talking to, well, so far we've only talked to Christian, right? And then today we have Mr. Jordan Brashears. He practices the Bahai faith. So I just learned about the Bahai faith like a few years ago. Had you heard about it, Gianna?
This is my first time hearing about it, you know, and it's I love to learn new things, you know what I'm saying? So I just know that this conversation is about to be dope. And I feel like I'm about to be doing like a lot more listening than I have like to be talking, you know, to have the conversation back and forth, but learning new things, you know, that's all in the repertoire. So I'm excited about this.
Right. Me too. So I can't wait for you guys to hear him ask questions. We're asking questions. If you have any questions, please make sure you put them in the chat, and we will make sure we put them in. So he will be here shortly, but you know, we got a little housekeeping before we get started as usual. Let's see, you know, I'm still working on this thing. We got tea time. Hey. All right, what we got? But God.
And that's it.
That's it.
And that's it.
And I have this shirt because it's like a lot of times we get so engulfed in what we're doing and what we have going on and how we're living our lives, and we have plans, you know.
Right.
We have all these plans. I'm sorry. I'm trying to multitask, and that's not a good thing to do on live, right? So it's not. But we have all these plans. We have things, and we like, you know, we want them to go this way and that way. But God already has a plan. So, you know?
Exactly. And then you hear like a lot of stuff going on in the outside world, things that you hear come into your world, and you be like, but God, you know, But I mean, that's neither here nor there.
Right.
But God, but all right, I'm gonna leave it alone. That's what I hear.
Yeah. So listen, God has a plan. I think for each and every one of us, we're sent here for a reason. You know, we have a purpose. We have something that we were sent here to do, whether it's inspire other people, whether it's teach other people. Thank God for the people who love the kids and like teach the kids and like that. I wasn't sent here for that. Yeah. Although I do like to mentor young people, but just teaching every day, like, I wasn't made for that, you know?
Yeah.
Thank God for the people who like to, you know, take care of even the elderly. Yeah. I don't know if I could do all that. They do a lot. you
Yeah,
know?
you do. And there's a lot of loss in their life taking care of the elderly. Like you grow attached to these people and you know it's for a limited time. You know what I mean? So it's thank God for the people that care for the elderly.
Right, right. Oh,
Yes, yes, yes.
let me send this link again. Sorry.
No worries.
Sorry. Copy. Paste. My bad. Um, I thought, I thought, I thought I sent it, but maybe I didn't. I don't know.
No
All
worries.
right. But what do you have going on? What's going on in your life? What's new?
You know, I'm really trying to figure out what to do with my little sip and smoke thing. I feel like
Uh-huh.
I need to start doing a lot more things that don't depend on other people. You know what I mean? So it's I have to figure out what that looks like because it's not to me. It's not as entertaining when it's just me sitting here answering questions. So I got to figure out how to just make it work.
Yeah. I
That's what
I I get that.
having a brainstorm, just brainstorm and see what's going on. Getting into this stock market.
Good. So
Yeah.
how's that going?
So what I'm doing is our other sister told me about the TD Ameritrade. TD Ameritrade has their own platform and they have this thing called Thinkorswim, which
Mhm.
gives you $200,000 to play and pass real
Awesome.
life stocks. So that before I fund my account,
With some real live moolah.
right. But they also have this education segment. So I've been like sitting there really trying to learn.
Good,
Yeah.
good, good. Listen, something's gotta give.
Man,
We gonna make it. So,
there's too much money out there for us to be working.
it is. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
See. Let me see. Hold on a second. All right, good. So we're on target. I think I sent everything. We should be moving soon. Um, other than that, I mean, did you vote yet?
I did.
Yay! It's important. I
Very
think that our lives depend on this election at this particular time, but I feel like that every time. I don't know what that is, you know? I feel like
you
that every
know,
time.
I feel like it more than ever this time around.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I felt it. I think that the last election with Obama was important. It was very important because it was a progress.
Right.
It was progress for our country. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That was very important just to see where we were at. But this election is lives on the line.
Yeah.
Like it, I don't. Yeah, when there are elections, when there's war going on, yes, that is a very important election because there are lives on the line as well. It's just these are like we didn't sign up to fight
Yeah.
against people. These them children that were taken by ICE, that have been
Mhm.
separated from their. They didn't sign up to die. Like
Yeah.
so this election, it just holds a lot more weight than I have ever been a part of,
Mhm.
in my lifetime. So
Well, I'm glad you voted. If you are listening right now and you have not voted yet, please do so. Please do
please,
so. Please do so. It's important. We need to we need change in the country. All right. So listen, our guest is here. I hope I'll be bringing him in. Again, his name is Mr. Jordan Brashears. He practices the Bahai faith. So I really can't wait to hear about this faith. Like I said, brand new. Gianna hadn't heard of it, so we're gonna get going here. Y'all know I'm still learning. I'm still learning. But here we go. We're gonna get started, and we're gonna bring him in. Whoops. There we go. Mr. Jordan Brashears, how are you? Can you hear us?
Oh, yes, I can hear you fine. No, I'm doing good.
Awesome,
No,
awesome, awesome. Thank you so much.
oh, no problem.
for joining us. I really appreciate you being here to shed light on your religion. We've only had this, you're the second episode this season, so I'm so excited. Like, I really love to learn new things. So I think we're going to learn a lot about something, a religion that we have not um, heard of before. So really excited about it. So
Well,
thank
hopefully
you
I
again.
can live up to all those aspirations and be
Yes.
somewhat informative.
Well, I will say, listen, I'm a talk about the elephant in the room. Your voice is amazing, right? And you should do like commercials or something. I don't know. I love your voice. It's
So
amazing.
I've been told.
I wasn't expecting your voice out
No
of
one
you.
usually does.
Oh, good, good. And my co-host today is Miss Gianna. Can you hear us, G?
Hi.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think my internet is having some trouble that's like going in and out. So if I'm just sitting here swallowed, I might just be frozen. But nice to meet you. I'm so excited to hear about your religion.
Well, I'm
All
glad to
right.
meet everybody.
See you later.
Well, Gianna is going to bring you in with our famous 5 questions that we have of every single person that comes on this show.
All right.
All right. So let's kick it off. We have, where are you from, born and raised?
I am born and raised in North Las Vegas. It's where I was lived my whole life, so I've never lived anywhere else. So this is my home.
All right, I'll take it. What living generation are you in? Baby boomer, Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, millennial?
I'm not quite sure because based off the classification, I saw one classification that said from 1996 onward is Gen Z, but I saw another one that was said 1995. I was born in 95, so I'm either on the very end of the millennial generation or I'm at the very start of Generation Z. I've seen different I've seen people say it was 95, 96, and 97, so I'm not sure which one is the established.
Yeah.
You're born in those 3 years, right? You're like, can I get a
Right.
definite answer or what, huh?
I
What
just
I'm
turned 25 this year, so.
Okay.
okay. What I'm looking at now says Gen Z, 95 through 2012.
All right. I'll
So,
take
uh,
All right. Do you come from a single parent household or a two-parent household?
two-parent household.
All right. Mom and dad were in the picture. Any siblings?
Yes, 2 older sisters. I'm the youngest.
Look at that. And just these things just explain a lot. You know, when you hear these are 5 questions that explain, like, we can pull a lot from those answers to find out about you. And the last question is the astrological sign.
So I was born in June, so I'm a June 28th, so I'm a Cancer. So
gotcha.
Okay.
All right, all right. I got a few of those in my life. So you guys are good people. Good people. All right. So thank you again for being a guest on the show today. We're really excited. So we're gonna get right into this thing.
all right.
So the Baha'i faith. Give us an overall summary of what the Baha'i faith is and what you all believe in.
All right. So what I had been raised basically since I was born, what the main tenet of the faith, what if there was to be distilled down to one common theme, it would be unity basically and equality, and to, you know, what do I want to say? Expound upon that a little bit more. Basically, we believe in an equality of the sexes, an equality of the races, a respect and understanding for the religions of the world, um, gender equality, and of course a balance between science and religion. And so those are basically the key foundations: unity and equality. So a very common saying you'll find in a lot of Baha'i faiths, I have it on a t-shirt, is one planet, one people, please. That's kind of our whole thing. Not to ignore our differences, but to sort of acknowledge that yes, there's differences, but that doesn't mean we can't exist together and that we're still not of the same cloth. There's children's song that we learned when we're younger, and it's literally we are all flowers of one garden. So despite the fact that the flowers may be different, we're still all a part of that same collective garden that, metaphorically speaking, is humanity. So those are the main basis for the religion.
Well, I love that. I really do. I'm a firm believer in humanity. I believe in humanity. I do. I do believe that there are more good people on this earth than evil people on this earth. But I don't know. Lately, it just seems like I don't know if the evil people are just coming out of the woodwork. I don't know what's going on, but I love that belief and the equality, and that was one thing that stood out to me when I did. I didn't dig real deep into the religion because I knew you were coming on, but I did like the equality, and that means a lot to me because I am considered a minority in this country, and unfortunately, things are not equal all the time. So.
Right. Oh, and just to expound upon that, just so you know, I get a lot of questions because I'm very racially neutral. A lot of people ask what I am. My dad's black and my mom's white, so I am actually so I understand those struggles also, which was one of the things I loved. My parents always say they loved about the Baha'i faith because when they were dating, and when there was still a lot more stigma around it, they used to have to warn people ahead of time. But when they were because both my parents were the first generation of their Baha'is. When they both went to the center to explore the faith, nobody thought twice about it,
Mm.
about them being in an interracial couple, which was one of the things that also drew them towards it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And I think that says a lot about that faith too. It's like a lot of the time people of different religions want to bring people in, but they have so many judgments about, who you are, where you come from, what are your previous what's behind you. But when you walk into that faith and you're just accepted, for everything about you, then what don't you think that reels a little bit more people in? To me, I would think.
I would think so. I would definitely think so. So then this is all you know. You've never been you've never believed in any other faith. How do you guys view other religions? I mean, I know you said that you kind of respect everybody's. Do you mm, do you call yourself a Christian? I don't. You know what I mean? Like
Uh, I
Christianity
get it.
has this big umbrella. So where do you guys
Right.
fall in that?
So first off, I'm an introvert, so I'm very self-conscious. So I did jot down some notes just in case I get tongue-tied. But the long short of it is that even though I've never been in a part of another religion, there's a quote that I have written down here that's established by by the governing forces in the Baha'i faith, or I should say, the spiritual leadership. When we talk about other religions, so it basically states that Baha'is believe in the independent investigation of truth, that no soul should follow ancestral or traditional beliefs without first questioning and examining their own inner being. So the Baha'i principle is that each individual has the right and the duty to investigate and decide whether or not, what religion is for them, because you can't become technically Baha'i until you declare at the age of 15, and you can't declare until then. And when I was growing up, we did children's classes and we learned about all of the major manifestations from God. So we learned about Krishna, Abraham, Zoroaster, Moses, Muhammad, and Jesus. We kind of view these manifestations as they all come from one source. They all come from the same God.
Hmm.
Slightly different ways of worshiping God, but it's the same God. So that's kind of how we've always viewed it. And so even though, no, I've never been in another religion, here at the house, we have the Bible, we have the Quran, we have even the Book of Mormon. We have the Book of Mormon also. So we have a lot of different varying religious principles, just because we find it important to take in different aspects.
That's awesome. Now you mentioned the age 15. Do you get like baptized or anything like that at 15, or what happens at 15?
Nothing so grandiose. It's mostly of a more formal registry. It's actually, I remember signing for my card, and it was just kind of a nice little gathering and affair. I wasn't sure if there was more spectacle to it or not, but you sign a card that declares that you are committing to being a Baha'i, and so that's how you declare. It's a signature, and it's your declaration to the faith. So
Okay.
that's how you have to decide upon that yourself, which is why in children's classes, like I said, we learned about different aspects of lots of religion, not only so that we could respect them, but if we wanted to investigate, we had that option also.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. I really do. I like that it's actually not a big to do, right? And the reason why I say that is because like in some religions, like there's a big thing that happens when you get of age or whatever. And I don't know if, some people just want that big thing or if they really do believe what they believe. So I like the fact that it's not like a whole big spectacle.
I have a
Um,
question.
yeah.
Jordan, you saw me raise my hand. uh, Jordan, did you do a lot of different research and then come to the decision that the Baha'i faith is the one that you wanted to stick to? Or what did your journey look like?
I mean, we were all introduced again. When I talk about children's classes, I started them when I was like 7, all the way up to basically 13. So when I was learning about these other religions, I was still a 12-year-old kid. So trying to keep my
Right.
attention and everything. I mean, we always would have quotes from other religions. We'd take quotes from, from Christianity. We took quotes from even some Native American tribes about different sayings and proverbs. We more focused on being spiritually moral. Like we more focused on just the moral principle rather than the religion behind that, if it makes sense.
That does make sense. Don't put a label to it. Yeah.
So that was the main thing. So I wouldn't say I didn't do really any research after the initial children's classes. Partially, it was probably due to my age and maturity at the time, but also because I was confident. I just felt like the Baha'i faith was a fit for me. I felt very proud already.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
already felt confident.
Good, good. Now, I know that other religions, they have like pastors, priests, ministers, or whatever. Do you guys have a teacher? Like, do you have a church? Do you have a teacher? How does that look?
So we don't quite have those. We have what are called spiritual assemblies, which
Okay.
everything is elected officials. And the spiritual assembly just kind of helps guide their local community. So that's more or less what we have.
So do you get together like on a specific day, like Sundays at 10 o'clock? I mean, I don't.
Right. We can basically what if it's done as on the assemblies is, and this is up to each individual assembly, and usually we like to keep the confines of the what happens in the assembly more to the assembly members. Not that so that, but basically we meet on times that we decide for the assembly because what best works for everybody. So sometimes we have to change the dates because not everybody can make it this day. So, but we do meet on a regular basis. Yes.
Got it. And is it at like someone's home or is it at an actual building?
So there are local spiritual assemblies for smaller, like for cities and stuff like that, and those we typically meet at another person's house. But there's also a national spiritual assembly, and so there's differences. But just like the local ones are usually at home. So
Okay, okay. And I'm glad you mentioned national. So how big is the Baha'i faith? How vast does this faith go?
the last numbers that I checked, it was approximately around 5 million people, and
Wow.
it's pretty diversely spread across the world. There's not like one pocket that really holds a majority of the citizens, so it's kind of just more evenly dispersed around the globe, I would say.
Really? So like other countries like China or even Africa or I don't know, they all have Baha'i?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of the major countries that are continents that have Baha'is. I can't say obviously every single country. I don't know each and every one of their statistics, so I don't want to
Right, right.
misquote or give wrong information. I just know that there is pretty diverse amounts. So I know we've had different people from other countries, though. Yes, and because the founder's son when he went on this kind of pilgrimage where he went around to different countries to spread the faith, and one of them was America, where he came here in the 1900s. So.
Okay. And let's talk about the founder. So the founder, is that like the Jesus of Baha'i?
Again, kind of, well, what we describe again is we have manifestations, which are how we describe people like Jesus, Moses, Buddha, Muhammad. We call them manifestations. And
Okay.
so basically, they are all from the same God, just delivering a slightly different message. So they all come from a very similar source. But in this case, it was founded by a man named Baha'u'llah, whose name roughly translates to the glory of God. So that's who was the founder.
Mm.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Um, I have so many questions. Like I'm trying to formulate them,
I will
you
try my
know.
best to answer all of them.
But okay, so he went around the world. Like okay, so like when Jesus went around, like there's writings, like teachings. People wrote down the account of him being here. So is it Baha'u'llah? Is that what you said?
Baha'u'llah is the founder. His son Abdul Baha was the one who went around to his teachings.
Oh, okay, Abdu'l Baha. So is there? Did he write anything? Is there like scripture that he wrote that?
Yes, actually, both of them, both Baha'u'llah and his son Abdul Baha, both wrote scripture. So our kind of holy book, which is it's called the Kitab Aqdas, which basically roughly translates to the most holy book, which was written by Baha'u'llah. And then there's also plenty of other prayers and tablets written by both Baha'u'llah and his son Abdul Baha. So, and then his grandson, a man by the name of Shoghi Effendi, translated all of these to different languages, including the English version, particularly. So,
Gotcha. And does it talk about the origin of man, like the Bible
it,
does?
I mainly, when we go through it, even when we were younger, we always, because we were kids, we would go through these workbooks together that highlighted more of the prominent portions of it, like, the virtues and the values. So even though these were all pulled from the most holy book, we didn't kind of sit around like in a sermon way and read from it. Instead, we believed on trying at least the way I was taught. I'm sure there's different classes around the nation that teach their kids in different ways. But, when we were young, we played games to try to teach these different things instead. We would have like a quote, we would talk about it, and we'd play like a game to demonstrate that. So,
Mm,
for instance, when we wanted to talk about the harms of gossiping, we played telephone, and they would try to show us that way about how something can become so muddled. And so that was just an example. So, again, the Quran is not the Quran, the Kitab Aqdas is a very dense book, but it was always kind of, when teaching children, that's kind of how they approached it. Focus on the morals and the values and things like that, and try to make sure that we understood that.
mhm. And what are some of the main morals and values? Like, what are some things that, like, when you hear it, it's like, no, the Baha'is believe heavily on this and this and this. So no
Right.
gossip, I'm assuming, since that was a thing.
Yeah. So, I feel, I don't, I feel like it's somewhat, standard and in common to a lot of other religions as well, certain practices, obviously, which is why we always try to celebrate our similarities and our differences as well. But I feel one that apparently isn't very common is backbiting, which is basically just talking bad about someone behind their back. That's literally one of the main principles we're taught at a very young age, just to not do that. So that's just one like small example. There's of course more, but um, I wouldn't really know where to begin. So
Right, right. Sounds to me like it's just like, just be a good person, be a
Right.
good human being,
Yes.
you know? Do you guys have any like rituals that you do? Like, do you pray so many times a day, or do I mean,
yeah, so there are actually things called obligatory prayers. You can say there's three different obligatory prayers. You get to basically choose which of the three you want to do, and you perform each of the three in a different way. So the one I perform, the obligatory prayer, is one where you're supposed to perform it every day at 12 o'clock. And that's basically it. We also have, I know we were talking about astrology earlier. We actually have, the Baha'is have their own lunar calendar that we follow for certain events. So there's 19 months, and each month is 19 days. And so each month is named after one of the principal virtues of God. So, which we describe as, sorry, I can remember all of the names of in their, remember all the names in the original tongue, but the translation. So there's splendor, glory, beauty, grandeur, lights, mercy, words, perfection, names, might, will, knowledge, power, speech, questions, honor, sovereignty, and dominion and loftiness. So these are like the 19 key virtues of like the faith and of people. So you kind of have your own. We still obviously use the regular calendar year, but that's how we hold our certain aspects of our religion. So we don't have like church on every Sunday. Instead, what we would have is at the start of every new Bahai month, we would gather, we would pray, we would talk about the community, and then we would spend the rest of the time just being with each other and enjoying each other's company. So that's where the calendar aspect of the lunar calendar comes into play. And because also we also have a celebration for the new year called Nowruz, which happens, once the cycle is complete. And there are 4 extra days, 5 on a leap year, where we celebrate another holiday called a Yamiha, which are basically the extra days left over after the lunar calendar. So things like that where it plays into place. But apart from that, we do use the regular calendar.
Right. So then do you have 2 different birthdays?
No, not exactly. I was born June 28th, and so on the Baha'i calendar, which you can find anywhere, it tells you where your birthday would fall between. So, for instance, anyone born between, I'm trying to remember all the days, anyone born between June 24th to July 12th would be born in the month of Ramat, which is my month, which is mercy. So, but it's not like a different birthday. It's just that's where your spiritual month is that you were born into.
So mercy, meaning that
forgiving.
What does that mean? Like, I mean, as far as how does that represent you? How does what does it mean to be born in the month of mercy? Is that a good thing?
I just more viewed it always as a character quality. These were all 19 qualities and virtues that we were supposed to embody in general. So whenever one you were born into, I'm not sure if it was just meant to be. I'm honestly not sure because I never thought about it too hard. I just always thought my month is the month of mercy, Bahai, in the Bahai way. And I always was very appreciative of that I was meant to be. I personally took it to heart that I was to be a more merciful and forgiving individual. So maybe, I don't know if I structured my life based around it because of that or what, but
Right.
So do you think that you are merciful, and forgiving of others? Because that is a hard thing to embody.
I mean, I was in a car crash like a couple of years ago, and someone ran a red light, and I wasn't even remotely angry. I was just kind of happy to have survived. So I don't know if I'm really. I feel like I'm a decent, forgiving person, I suppose.
So you don't hold grudges. No, that's good. That's a good thing. That's a great quality to have, I believe.
I'm gonna have to go look up September 15th, figure out what my Baha'i trait is.
Let's see.
All right.
September 15th, you said?
Yeah.
15:5.
Okay. September 15th. So anyone born after September 8th, between September 8th and September 26th, would be might.
Might, like M-I-G-H-T?
Yeah, M-I-G-H-T, might.
Okay. All right. What about November 22nd?
Look, we about to put you to work, Jordan.
That's fine. November 22nd. So let's see. That would be power.
Okay. All right. Power. Huh. Okay. Actually, power is not very important to me. I don't know. I've never been one to want like power.
I always viewed it as, my interpretation of it personally was that it was, you have the power to make change, to make the difference. That was my interpretation when I always looked at it.
Gotcha. I can accept that.
Say that we knew these things as a younger, as a young person. Say that we grew up knowing that, that was our trait. That could, just turn your life,
Game
change,
changer.
move differently. You know what I mean? So that's very interesting.
I like that. I really do. So, what in the Baha'i faith do you guys believe in heaven and hell, or like what happens when you die?
So we believe in something called the Abba Kingdom, which is basically like our version of the next stage. Um, but as far as heaven and hell goes, not in the traditional sense. We feel like, well, here I they can there's the writings can say better than I can. Let me just find it.
Yeah, and then I don't know. So it's not an actual place. You don't.
So what it's described as, and here is this is partially my words and partially from from the Baha'is organization. It says every human being and possesses an immortal, rational soul that passes through this world for a brief time and continues for eternity to advance towards God. Our life's purpose is to progress spiritually by serving our fellow human beings. In doing so, we acquire the divine qualities we will need in the life to come. So basically, what it was always described as is that this place in this mortal existence is just one part on our life until the next area. But the qualities and the traits and the virtues that we learn and practice here are what are going to help us in the next life. So then there's not quite heaven or hell in the traditional sense. It's that the way I was always believed is the more virtuous you are, the more moral you are, the closer you will be to God when you pass on to the next world, and you will be closer to his light and to his love than if you are a sinful person. So in that case, God will always love you, but the sins committed on this world translate to you being further from God and his love in the next world. So not a traditional, I guess, depiction of like heaven or hell.
Yeah, I think it's some people in the basement, like not even close. It's some evil ass people in the world. Well, let me ask you this, because I say a whole bunch of like bad words, right? I mean, not bad words as in like, but I'm pretty profane, right? So I say a lot of profane words. Is that considered like really sinful and like you're moving away from God?
I mean, they encourage you to not do it, but it's not one of the things that I was really reinforced or taught. Like out of all the things we were taught in children's classes, like being respectful and things like that. But I wouldn't really. That wasn't one of the things they ever said, explicitly talked about. I don't know. I guess that just wasn't really an issue they thought about trying to have.
So I can cuss. Okay, all right, good. What about like Satan? I know that a lot of religions believe in Satan. Do you all believe in Satan? Like there is an evil like presence in the world?
So again, I mean, like there's a lot of there can be darkness in the world, but I've never once in all of my time learning in the children's classes, which I was a part of from the time I was 6 to like 14, and then I took additional classes even longer. The idea of Satan or a physical incarnate form of evil never pops up. It was never something that was referred to or talked about. It was just just be a righteous person, just be a moral person. I never saw like a physical embodiment of evil ever described, really.
Can I ask, how do you think that affected? Like, how do you think that affected how you move without having to have, like, for me being a Christian woman, now I think that there is a place where I go if I don't uphold these values or if I don't act right in a righteous way. How do you think that affects you? I'm not sure if you ever thought of it, but just to.
Well, see, and whenever I was taught, one thing we were also always taught is that God is more forgiving than he is just, in the sense that he's more forgiving and loving than he is in doling out, punishments. Right. And so to me, it was always, if God is this lovely, warm light that you want to be as close to as possible, that's enough incentive for me.
Right.
I cannot speak for every Baha'i, obviously, and or how they were raised, and maybe I can't. But I always just felt that I just wanted to do sake for the sake of being good, and I never
Mhm.
really thought about
Mm.
some fear of repercussions.
Right,
More
Right.
right.
more
Right.
than anything, I think the most that I dwelled on was disappointing or like letting down, which is more of where I would say that comes from, but never this fear of like brimstone and fire.
Right. Now,
That's
well, what happens if you
Right.
guys do have a member that is just running amok and just ain't doing right? They
I
doing jacked up stuff.
I can't honestly speak from experience. I'm part of the North Las Vegas community, which is very small in and of itself, and I've never really had that be an occurrence or something that I, at least not to my knowledge. Again, other communities, other places, I'm not sure. So
So
I
you've
can't
never
really
heard of
say.
you guys like kicking somebody out of the religion because they are not following the rules?
No, but again, if seeing as how I was part of the youth portion, I mean, still, when you declare and you're 15, you're still left out of some of the like governing things until you're the age of 21. So,
Mhm,
I mean, if something happened back then or now, I just, in my time as a young adult, I've never experienced those sorts of things happen
mhm.
at all. So,
Okay. All right. And you say governing. So what are the different seats I guess you can hold in the like is there like a president, a vice president? Is it like that or
I mean, not exactly. Mainly, everyone gets an equal say at the meeting. You have a chairman whose job it is to keep people on task, but they no one person holds more power over the other. You're all elected officials, and you're all equal there. So everyone's input matters.
gotcha. And even the children? Or do you have to be
Everyone,
15?
you have to, in order to be on. So those are part of the spiritual assemblies. So in order to be part of the spiritual assembly, you have to have declared, and you have to at least be 21 to be
Gotcha.
a part of it. So,
Gotcha.
but we do, if people want us to bring up subjects at the LSA, we can discuss them. But again, we usually keep these things, um, I don't want to say private, but we try to be respectful in the sense that we like to keep things, within uh, this spiritual assembly for the sake of, just making sure it's what's best for the community discussion.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
just that. Sorry, it's
Okay.
getting rambling.
Yeah, no, no. And then I know other religions, let's say like Jehovah's Witnesses, they knock on doors. Mormons, they, ride the bikes and stuff like that. How do you guys get people to join your religion? How does that happen? How do you
I
recruit,
mean,
I
yeah,
guess?
there's definitely been, youth groups and door to door things, but also, um, I know that I had a friend who used to go to a local apartment complex area, and he would literally just volunteer to have this kind of time spent with just teaching the kids morals and values. You invite the parents to come along if they weren't unsure, and they would have it in the general, like in the vicinity at the local park in the complex. And he would just spend time, they would be playing games, the games that I played to help reinforce, good values. It wasn't really about God or the Baha'i faith. It was just teaching the kids to just have fun in a space and learn about these different virtues through friendship.
That's awesome. I asked that question because I've seriously never heard of it. Me growing up, I mean, and I've lived in North Las Vegas for a while, but I have not heard of the Baha'i faith. I don't know. I just have not heard of it. So I don't know. I, that's why I wondered how do you get the word out, you know?
Yeah. No, I have
Right.
done door to door stuff like that, and there are people who are more, what do I want to say, more dedicated to that portion than I am. And again, I can't speak for each community. The North Las Vegas community itself is very small. We are
Mm.
very small compared to other communities. I think there's like 20 of us total, so it's very half of them are my family, so it's a very small community. So
Got it. Got it.
that might also have some impact onto why you never heard. So
Yeah. And with COVID, oh, go ahead, G.
I just wanted to I know you said that the founders were, I want to say you said 1900s.
Well, Abdul Baha, his son, did spend some time traveling across the world, including to America during that time in the 1900s. But yes, the founder was born and spread his message in the 1800s.
1800s. I just wanted to see like how new, what
Yes,
historically.
barely.
Yeah, pretty new. Yeah, compared to like BC, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, what was the other question I had? I'm trying to make sure I asked everything. I think I did though.
Yeah, make sure.
Da-da. I think I asked everything. I really do.
You're good, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, how are you doing with this COVID thing? Are you guys doing virtual events? Or are you still getting together and
We're doing
social
virtual
distancing?
events for the most part. Mainly everybody in this house, and so that's mainly how we keep it. My mom, my dad, myself, my nephews were helping raise things. So that's pretty much, and we mainly stick to that. Occasionally, we'll go out to a park, but we'll still bring a mask just in case. Or we'll go to the bookstore, but again, we try to social distance and we'll wear masks and things like that. But we do try to avoid going out for the most part because my nephew's diabetic and is therefore at risk in particular. So we do try to, keep our distance because it's important for our
Exactly.
health.
For sure.
Exactly. Well, I thank you so much for coming and just shedding light on the Baha'i faith. What do Baha'is call themselves? I mean, you got Christians, they're Christians. You got
Baha'is.
Catholics, they're Catholics. Okay, so just Baha'is. Okay.
Just Baha'is, yes, just Baha'is. And if you want to learn more, there's Bahai.org that you can go to. So there's that.
Right. Yes.
Bahai.org. And then if people had questions, just go there. What if they want to become a part of uh, the an assembly or whatever? Can you sign up for one or?
That is an excellent question, and it probably depends on the community that you're part of and how they handle that sort of thing. There is a Baha'i Center here in Las Vegas, actually,
Oh,
that's we
okay.
use for larger events only. It's where the children's classes used to be held, but more recently we've been holding them at like people's houses instead. But there is there, but I don't know how what the general contact method is for reaching out, depending on what community you live
Right, right. Okay. Well, we'll just throw out the Baha'i.org. Make sure you go there if you want to learn anything more about this faith. I really love the whole unity and equality aspect of it for sure.
For sure.
I think that's amazing. With that being said, with voting and everything, how do you guys feel a way? Do you vote? Do you not vote? Some religions don't.
Oh, so we actually have a thing where we can vote, but it's nonpartisan politics. So talking about it publicly like this or which candidate I'm leaning towards, we just don't do that. We
Yeah.
vote, yes, we can vote, but we don't believe in partisan policies, so we're
Got
not supposed to talk about those things or identify with either political party. So all Baha'is should be nonpartisan because we don't
Okay.
belong to any.
With what's going on in the world and you guys are for equality and stuff like that, I'm just gonna assume that you guys are gonna vote. Yeah. So thank you so much for being our guest today. Is there anything that you wanted to say before we head on out of here?
No, I just hope I answered all of your questions, and I hope that I was a decent host, and I hope everybody listening learned something and are just all right. Sorry, tongue tie, are satisfied with the presentation. That's or the podcast interview. We want to say.
Definitely, definitely. And you gotta make sure you capitalize off that voice.
I'll look into that. Everyone says I should, so.
Definitely. All right, Miss Gianna, is there anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Thank you, of course, for coming in. I'm definitely, thrilled to have learned about this faith. I absolutely love its core, the values that you have brought up and that you've told us that Baha'i is about. I would like to learn more. It's, of course, being with faith. Faith is such a it's rooted in us, like from being a child, as Christianity is rooted in me. So I want to learn more. It's just a matter of how my mind.
No, I understand that, and there are lots of we hold devotionals where we talk about prayers and stuff, and sometimes these things are held with people who are non-Baha'is, and they're just discussion about different things and perspectives. So
Right, understood.
there should be never any like emphasis, or at least however I was raised, no like pressure to make somebody convert or to join, just to teach them about what we're about, and just be able to kind of get along and unite despite the differences in our religion. So
Love. That's
Yeah.
love. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And Gianna, where can people find you?
Oh, hey. Y'all can follow me at X Sip and Smoke. That is my love, sex, and relationships conversation. Subscribe on YouTube at X Sip and Smoke TV.
Awesome, awesome. And I have definitely listened in, joined into the conversations on that show. It's very amazing. If you guys want some stimulating conversations about those topics, please listen, tune in. Of course, you guys can follow Pieces of She podcast on Instagram at pieces.of.she, on Twitter at Pieces of She 1. And hey, if you want to be on the show, email me. If you are of a different religion, I'm still looking for like a Buddhist. I would love to have a Buddhist on the show. Catholic. So email me, Trish at piecesofshe.com. I would love to have you here. Cannot wait. Thank you again for being here. Until next time.
thank you for having me.